Like many others, I couldn't help but be reminded of the Boston Massacre when I got the news of Renee Good and the public backlash. A few years ago, looking to make an entirely different point about the power of framing and propaganda, I started thinking to myself that if the Boston Massacre were to happen today, it'd be called the Boston officer-involved shooting. No doubt. It's got a different ring to it, right? It sort of makes you think about whether every officer-involved shooting really deserves such an anodyne label, or if some very likely deserve a much more colorful description. The other lesson, though, from the Boston Massacre being framing and propaganda work from either angle. Officer-involved shooting is a form of propaganda that uses pacifying language to protect the power structure from criticism. Boston Massacre does the opposite. It's linguistically condemning the existing power structure for their overreach. Now, the other historical example being brought up this week is the death of Viola Liuzzo, a white mother of 5 from Detroit who drove to Alabama to support civil rights marchers after seeing Bloody Sunday on TV. She was driving black marchers in her car when she was shot and killed by Klansmen on a dark highway. So, in Boston, 1770, Crispus Attucks was the first killed in the Boston Massacre. He was a sailor of African and Native American descent, and if you know anything about our history, you won't be surprised to hear that he was demonized by the defense attorney for the British soldiers in court, who happened to be John Adams, who went on to become the second president of the United States, who said in court that Attucks's, quote, very looks were enough to, quote, terrify any person. So you can just let that sink in. And then in Alabama, 1965, in the immediate wake of Viola Liuzzo's death at the hands of Klansmen, the FBI launched a smear campaign against her, spreading false allegations, the point of which was to make the public ask more about why she was there in the first place rather than about who killed her and why. And now, in Minneapolis in 2026, the pattern continues as blatantly as ever. Renee Good is being called a terrorist, insurrectionist, a threat to the lives of ICE officers, you name it, and now her widow is being investigated instead of the ICE agent. We have seen this playbook before, and we know how it can end. Impunity for the established power structure is the point. ICE today operates with essentially no oversight, while the DHS X account is posting and Stephen Miller is going on TV explicitly telling ICE agents that they have total immunity in the conduct of their duties. Similarly, the KKK was also able to operate with almost absolute impunity in the South for decades. And in case you've forgotten your American history, the British soldiers involved in the Boston Massacre were acquitted of murder, while 2 received a small punishment for manslaughter before being released. There's every reason to believe that the ICE officer today will not personally face justice. But that is not the takeaway here. On the Boston Common, you will find the monument commemorating the Boston Massacre and see that it is also known as the Crispus Attucks Monument. In Alabama, the National Park Service maintains the large stone memorial dedicated to the life and legacy of Viola Liuzzo and her sacrifice. The Boston Massacre was a catalyzing event that helped spark the revolution. Klan violence against peaceful civil rights protesters propelled public sentiment and public energy toward the passage of the Civil Rights Act and the Voting Rights Act. People do not stand by and abide systems of impunity forever, and that is why violent systems of control are so fragile, so brittle. They're unjust and everyone knows it. Of course, that doesn't stop authoritarians from trying over and over again. But just like with the revolutionaries throwing off the yoke of monarchy and the civil rights campaigners working to end the system of racial terrorism at the hands of the Klan, it's everyone's job today to ensure that this reign of terror at the hands of Trump and ICE is ended while those who fall as part of the resistance to unjust authoritarianism are properly remembered and memorialized as the heroes they are, just as we have before.